a cup of coffee, then I'll go. Thought that I'd just drop by and let you know that I'm leaving town tomorrow. I'll cause you no more sorrow. I'll just have a cup of coffee, then I'll go. I brought the money like the lawyer said to do. It won't replace all the heartaches I've caused you. It won't take the place of loving you, I know. I'll just have a cup of coffee, then I'll go.
Welcome back to the channel, Grand Columbia. Welcome to another Coffee Time Live. It's agua. So last night, someone asked me, why don't you give the temperatures? Okay, I will today, but I'll forget after this. So last night got down to about 66 degrees. When I got up at 5:30 this morning, it was still 66 degrees. It's currently 72 degrees, and we're going to have a high of 76 degrees today. It's a little overcast. I don't know. It'll rain this afternoon, of course, or tonight, but I don't see any imminent rain. It's a little overcast. So that's that. Big topic, apparently. It came up at the end of last week's broadcast, internet cast, about the contribution link. It wasn't functioning. And it wasn't functioning because, now this is weird. So after I'm all done, I remembered a little bit later, I went back and I said, why were they having trouble with it? So I go in and sure enough, it's not working. It's coming up with some error screen. So I dig a little bit deeper. I found out that God knows why they changed my channel name from Grand Columbia to Grand Columbia 1. Now, and so I put the proper link up this time and we should be okay, but it reminded me of 4, maybe 5 years ago, I owned the rights to grandcolumbia.com. And then all of a sudden, one day, I no longer owned it. I was still, during the period, you can own them for 1 year or more. And it was within that period. And somehow somebody else bought it right out from under me. And I had to find another link. Those things aren't supposed to happen. It's happened to me a couple times now. But anyway, it's all fixed. And as a matter of fact, I got, let's see. That one and that one just before I logged in, and everything seems to be working today. My sound bar says you're getting sound, hopefully. Good morning from Cerritos. Good morning. Well, that's way over there. We have one closer. Let me see. Yeah, here's one closer. I've got 4 chats up on the screen. Juka, greetings from Finland. How you doing? Don Corbin, morning, Colorado here. John C, morning. Already said that one. Buenos dias. N890. And, or is that NB? I don't know. Good morning from Fort Lauderdale. Morning, Rob. Mike Jarvis. I got something in the news that took place in Tapao this week. Mark, good morning. John, hello from Medellin. Oh, your favorite place. Adriana from Envigado. How you doing? New hat. New hat? I've had this hat for going on 4 years. Maybe over 4 years. Okay, William, how you doing, William? Haven't seen you in a while. Mike Carroll, hello, good morning. Okay, so first I want to talk about Ecuador for a little bit. As you know, I lived there for little over 3 years, and I still have friends there, and it's kind of been going down the tubes for not one reason, but many reasons. It's mostly things that have existed, things I've talked about in videos, but it's just getting worse and worse. And I found it interesting because something popped up, and as you probably know, I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook, but something popped up, and for whatever reason, I took a look, and it was expats in Cuenca or something like that. And I took a look, and there's this guy that posed a question about all this research he'd done. He'd been to Ecuador, to Cuenca several times. He'd been looking into it for the past 3 or 4 years. And, but all of a sudden he sees people complaining about crime and some other things. And so he was soliciting opinions. And in a very short time, it went way over 100 comments. And as a matter of fact, the person who does this website, he also sells real estate. And so he doesn't like a lot of bad things being said. But even he's brought up some things recently. Apparently he's getting frustrated, but he turned the comments off because, you know, things can get kind of bad on Facebook. And it was what precipitated the conversation, apparently, because I skimmed through some of these, was a new study that came out that moved Guayaquil up 25 points up the ladder as one of the most dangerous cities in the world. So that's like a massive jump. And it's not only up, it jumped 25 places, but it's up in the top 20 in the world or something like that. I don't remember exactly. But there were so many comments that were really funny. That, you know, it's like, well, it's certainly safer because they don't have a Second Amendment here, so we don't have to put up with all kinds of shootings, which is hilarious because there were 1,500 shootings in Guayaquil last year that resulted in death. They happened in Cuenca, and I talked about it. The difference is it's only the criminals that have the guns. If you're a law-abiding citizen, you don't get a gun. And somebody said, well, there's an exception. You can have a gun. Well, that's sort of true, but not true. If you own property and you're a farmer, you can have a shotgun. And you have to jump through all kinds of hoops. But if you're just a person there, you can't own a gun. When the socialists came into power, 12 years ago now, one of the first things they did was confiscate all the guns. And also they're talking about the hospital. Now, it's funny because I got slammed. In Ecuador, you have a lot of people that go from the United States there, and half of them are probably hardcore socialists. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm serious about this. And so when I was doing videos there, if I said anything that they didn't like, they'd kind of gang up on me. It was laughable. But one time I was talking about the hospital system there, and it's kind of a disaster. And, you know, they're singing its praises and this and that. Well, it was really funny because somebody had posted up an article showing the hospital where they took videos inside and out of all the lines, people sleeping on the floor because they've been waiting so long. Back when I lived there 4 or 5 years ago, to get an appointment, gringos actually got a little priority. But if you're just a regular person there, you go to make an appointment, it could be 6, 7 months down the road. I personally knew somebody who waited so long for the appointment that they ended up with a chronic issue that they would not have had otherwise and nearly died from it. But the hospitalization, I mean, it's very common there to have, what's that flesh-eating virus thing that runs around in hospitals? I forget what it's called. That's a common thing there. You go in for a minor thing and you end up, going back 7, 8 times to address the, the side effects. So it's really becoming kind of a disaster. But what was funny is a lot of people that have MRSA, a lot of people that have slammed me in the past on videos back when I was doing them there, I noticed their names are still living there. And they were saying the things that I pointed out way back that they didn't want to admit. It's really funny where they'll defend something with a total disregard to reality. And I don't understand that mindset. I mean, if something happens here that kind of sucks, I have no problem saying it. I've got no personal stake in promoting Armenia or Colombia. I could give a crap what people, if they like it or don't like it. I just talk about my life and how it works for me. I don't care if, honestly, if you like it or not. It's you're adults and you can decide for yourself, But these people, they would blindly disregard the reality that was on their doorstep and defend in the nastiest of ways. And it was very entertaining for me, enough for me to talk about it today, to see them. Well, one of them actually had a home invasion, so it was kind of humorous to me. I mean, I don't wish people ill will, but man, if anybody's going to deserve it. Okay, enough of that. I do talk about Ecuador once in a while, and I actually like a lot of things about Ecuador. It just wasn't for me to live there. And a lot of those things are just really coming home to roost. And there's just a lot of people that are just reevaluating living there or going there. So enough of that. What do I got next? What comments here? Staph infection. Yep. Buenos dias from rainy Northern California. I'll be in Colombia in 3 months. Very excited. Awesome. A lot of people are coming over the next few months. Got somebody arriving today. I've done a few Skype calls with him. I don't know that I'll see him while he's here, but I think he's here for a month or so doing Spanish classes and some other things. And then somebody who's actually become a bit of a friend, talked to a number of times. He's coming down and bringing a friend in April. So that'll be interesting. We'll definitely meet up. Okay, last week I was talking about the taxi strike. And you know that I love this mayor. Sadly, his term is up, and come this next January, he'll be gone. So in the meantime, they're going to be figuring out who's going to be the new mayor. But this is a guy that takes action. Well, they had the taxi strike, and the number one issue was Uber. Except it's not Uber. It basically just wildcatters, people that are selling their time in their car to undercut taxis. And I won't go through all the reasons why I think it's a scumbag move. I talked about it last week, but that was their biggest issue. Well, this mayor already moved on it this week. And his thing is he's just enforcing laws that were already on the books. Uber or things like it are actually not legal in Colombia. And I had somebody argue with me about that. Well, they're in Medellin and they're legal. They are in Medellin. They're not legal. Anyway, somebody took a video clip of something that happened down in Central. So let me show you the clip and then I'll explain it. Yeah, I probably should have explained it first so you knew what you were looking at. It occurred to me as the thing was finishing up. Well, he directed the Transito, which is the traffic police, to go out and crack down, particularly in El Centro, all the fake Ubers and the motoraton, the motorcycles. Now, I kind of don't like the idea of them busting on the motorcycles. And if you don't know, in the barrio, you'll have motorcycles that will hire out to people in their own community. They'll take them to work, pick them up from work, bring them back. They'll charge like 1,000 pesos or something. It's dirt cheap. And a lot of people, because the buses, well, the buses do well, but, let's say it's raining and you have to go 6 blocks to get to the bus line. It's not always practical, especially if you're trying to get to work. So they have these raton motos that will hire themselves out. And they're dirt cheap. And if they didn't exist, there's a lot of people that would have a lot of trouble getting back and forth to work. You will see them lined up at certain places. You'll see them lined up at the supermarket waiting for people to go back to their barrio. But usually the people know the guy with the moto and he knows them. And so he'll see somebody that he knows and they'll ride off. I see it as really kind of a different thing because there is no alternative. There is no licensed, regulated alternative to that. But anyway, so they got 46 of the motos on this one afternoon, and they got 2 cars that were fake Ubers. And they said they're going to crack down from now on. If they see them, they're going to take their vehicles, give them a fine, whatever they do. I think they booted the cars, incapacitated the cars, and I don't know what they do from there. This is all new, but I found it kind of interesting, typical of the mayor. I mean, he's a man of action. Let's put it that way. Okay. Chicago Papa. You lost me. What else do we got? Oh, something that happened to me. I'll show you this. There was a time when I thought the U.S. Post Office was a pretty decent organization. I don't know what's happened, but let me show you. This is a tracking page. I don't know if you can see it, but I'll start at the bottom. It was delivered to the UPS February 27th, and it was received in packaging that day, a few hours later, U.S. Post Office, Los Angeles. So it went from the Los Angeles Post Office post office to the Los Angeles International Distribution Center the next morning. Okay, sounds right. Was processed through that facility and sent on its way, same day, to Carson, California. And it got to Carson, California on March 2nd, a couple days later. I have no idea, and they didn't either, apparently, because they took it from Carson, California, and sent it back to the Los Angeles International Distribution Center. And so it got back to the distribution center on March 2nd, and then it left the International Distribution Center again on March 3rd, and it went to the Los Angeles Post Office, the regular one. It left the Los Angeles Post Office on the 3rd and showed up in Miami on the 4th. It left Miami on the 4th. It arrived in Bogota on the 5th, and tomorrow it'll be in Armenia. So we don't have a post office, but we don't have a government entity. It's no wonder the post office is losing money. You look at that list of how many points that it touched, when in reality, it didn't have to do anywhere near that. I could see, okay, they took it to the post office, it's got to go to the distribution center. Okay, got that. And then they sent it to Miami, got that. But all those other ones made absolutely no sense. I mean, it was showing back up at the same places. Craziness. So you had all those lost days, all that lost money, all those, the space on the airplane for nothing. So, it shows up in the airport for Bogota, leaves Bogota, arrives, 4 hours later, or Miami, 4 hours later, it arrives in Bogota. 2 hours later, it was put on an airplane to come to, it actually goes to Pereira, and then from Pereira, they put it on a truck and it'll come here. So I'll see it either tomorrow or Tuesday. But, private operations, be it in Colombia or the U.S., always work better because they're actually trying to make a dime, where apparently the U.S. Post Office could care less. But I don't think that surprises anybody. So there's that. Now, what else I got here? Inflation. Always asking me about inflation. So what's the latest? Here's the latest. Inflation in Colombia continues to rise. In February, it reached 13.28%. Not in that month, but it's on an annual basis, which is not good. Interesting thing is that the lowest in the country is Ibagué, Pereira, Manizales, Armenia, right here. It's the lowest inflation rate in the country. So that's pretty cool. All right, what else we got here? Air quality, report on the air quality. This is just so typical, and it kind of cracked me up. So we got this report here. You have to understand this is a translation, and a lot of things said in Spanish don't make sense even without being translated. But the air quality in Armenia, which they test every so often, the air quality in Armenia below the maximum permitted levels. Now, just the way that's worded, it sounds like maximum permitted levels, maybe it's out of bounds, but it says below. The air quality is actually rated good. But they don't say that. I guess this is, maybe it's more specific. I don't know. Just kind of cracks me up. There is concern because the traffic is getting worse and worse by the day. And so there's concern about it. but they measured it again, and we still have good air quality. But you actually know, all you have to do is go outside and take a deep breath, and you know that it's clean air. But the constant breeze might have something to do with that too. So I thought that was interesting. I'm asked about that fairly often. And the last item that I have before we get to any kind of general questions is snakes. Are there snakes there? Yeah, there are. But we have conservation officers. They call them environmental officers, forest rangers, basically. And I'm going to show you a photo. You figure out which one and let me know which one is the forest ranger. Okay. I mean, he's just dressed like a forest ranger. They're holding a boa constrictor. Now, if you know what a boa constrictor is, you know that's a pretty kind of baby boa constrictor. It's not a very big one. But they found 4. Probably something to do with a lot of the rain that we got. Mosquitoes around Condillo. I haven't seen a mosquito here in months, but around Condillo, I understand, particularly in the warmer areas, like in the south of Armenia, they say there's a lot more mosquitoes than normal, which is not good because, I mean, malaria and things like that are always a possibility. Don't want to put the scare into you. Like I said, I don't see any mosquitoes, but there's certain things that are just out of the ordinary. And, we haven't got swarms of locusts yet, but we've got 4 boa constrictors that were found. One was in La Tebaida, one in Buena Vista, one is in Pueblo Tapao, my favorite little village where Mike lives. And where's the other one? Oh, there were 2 in La Tebaida. So they found 2 in La Tebaida, which is that little town right next to the airport. And then Buena Vista, which is gorgeous. When I went to the horse ranch, that technically was in Buena Vista, but it was kind of, you look up at where the town was. And then Pueblo Tapao. So, but they're always out looking for these things. They just relocate them. They don't want them living in towns and villages and population spreading. They'll take them out. I don't know. Maybe they ship them off to the Amazon or someplace more appropriate, away from population centers. This isn't going to do anything, but as they get bigger, they can get your cat, they can get your dog. I mean, they get really big, they can, attack some little kid. They don't want anything like that happening, so they just relocate them. So I just thought that was kind of interesting, particularly since there was one out there with you, Mike. It was probably an escaped pet that he had. Okay, I'll be back to Colombia April 25th. Thank God. We'd like to get together if possible. Yeah, just shoot me off an email with your itinerary. I'll put it on the calendar. And if it's at all possible, sometimes I'm busy, sometimes I'm not in town. I probably forget once in a while, but shoot me off an email. I put it on a calendar and we'll see what we can do. Mike, I've seen 3 mosquitoes in a year and a half, north, south, and west. Yeah, and if there were mosquitoes, I think they'd be where you are. I mean, because you're kind of out where that might happen. Your old place, there are probably more than where you're living now and where I live. But there's not a lot going on. Mosquitoes have to do with standing water. This altitude is not very conducive to them, but as much rain as we had, There's probably areas, well, not probably, there are areas that have standing water here and there, particularly with all the green spaces that we have. And we got little miniature forests spread throughout the city. And, you know, I'd be surprised if there weren't mosquitoes, but enough so that they were talking about it in the news. So I'm trying to understand why people are moving to Colombia when this socialist commie Petro is in charge. Because he won't be in charge very long. They've got limits. So in a few years he'll be gone. And so far he's really been throttled on. He's taken a few executive actions that I brought up, but there's no legislation that he's actually been able to do even to this point. So he's trying to push a rock up a hill because he doesn't have enough of his people's support to accomplish what he wants to accomplish. Yeah, he got the presidency, but there's a lot of other positions in the government that he didn't get, or his people didn't get. So that's why you don't see me panicking. I mean, I'm watching the guy, and you know, I've certainly given my opinion on him, but when I'm asked, do I have any long-term concerns? Not as of yet. I haven't seen anything to really be that concerned about, even though, you know, anything that I see, I bring up in here, and there hasn't been any. I mean, people are asking me all the time, and I think twice in the last 6 months there was anything I could come up with to say about it. So he's kind of, not much is happening. He's kind of like that senator from Pennsylvania, you know. He just kind of disappeared. He has tried to take credit for a few things which were laughable, and I brought that up. 6 months here, not a mosquito yet. Awesome. Something to put. No, you just get big old snakes. Boris, good morning. Probably gringo mosquitoes visiting. Yeah, could be. Dan, we have so many bats and geckos in Ibagué, we never see a mosquito. Yeah, that's true. I had a gecko on my bedroom wall. I keep my windows open all the time. And in the dark, I saw this. I couldn't say it was too dark, but I don't know how to explain it. It was black on black, but it looked like something moved. And I go, maybe it's one of those floaters in my eyeballs. But what is that? I'm laying there in the dark. I swear something moved there. So I turned the light on. One of these geckos had got in. So I took a picture and sent it to a friend, and she says, well, that's good luck. Don't kill it. I wasn't going to kill it. I just kind of chased him back outside. Petro didn't make himself look any good by getting into a debate with the president of El Salvador regarding his way of handling the gangs. Good point. Yeah, good point. El Salvador, if you don't know, El Salvador is the root of the MS-13, one of the most vicious gangs in the world. It's been a breeding ground, a training ground. I've got a good friend who lives with his family in North Carolina and has for years, but he's from El Salvador. And they originally left because you get recruited by, you either join the gang or we'll kill your family kind of thing. So it's been bad. So anyway, the president said, to hell with this, and he just directed the police and the military, go get them. And they strip them down, their shirts, and they've got them warehoused in this prison. I saw a video clip, and they have them very well behaved, very well mannered, and they're just not going to tolerate it anymore. Last I knew, there were thousands of them that they had rounded up and incarcerated. Basically, it is illegal to be in El Salvador and be a member of MS-13. And, you've got people that are screaming, what about their civil rights and this and that? And he's not listening. He doesn't have any sympathy for it. And good for him. It's like everybody knows what scumbags they are and how they're destroying the society there. And to cry about their civil rights is ignoring everybody else's civil rights. So good for him. They say, well, it's a recipe to get out of control. And I suppose, it could be. And let's hope it doesn't. But he's doing what should be done. At some point, you're president of the people. You gotta look out for him. Really appreciate your thoughts on Colombia's politics. Good to have you down there with your feet on the ground. Thank you. No problem. Happy to do it. Fortunately, the politics here is very different. Not much of the politics happens, which I really appreciate. The only snakes I've seen have 2 legs. Yeah, good point. Sherry, ship package to China 8 months ago. Rejected by Chinese customs. Back to the U.S. USPS returned China customs rejected again. U.S. February 2nd has been in Chicago. Back 6 times. Yeah, it's crazy. Well, China, it's a government operation. U.S., it's a government operation. So on both ends, nobody cares. So it could bounce around forever. Nobody's going to care about it. It gets here, and they want to get paid, and they want to get paid with the lowest expense possible. So they don't ship things around. They ship it to you as quick as they can, and I love it. MS-13 and 18 starting the barrios of Los Angeles. It's possible. I have heard that before, but I've also heard that that's a rumor. I don't know, but they were El Salvadorians, and so if it started there and they took it back there, I don't know. And frankly, it doesn't really matter. It's an El Salvadoran gang that they don't just kill people, they torture them, they brutalize them, they believe in rape and just taking whatever they want. They're about as brutal a gang as can be, and there's tens of thousands of them. Just in the U.S., there's something like 10 or 15,000 of them. I know Trump had rounded up and shipped out something like half of them, but they've all just been flowing right back. So, all that was for nothing. They were really heavily embedded in New Jersey. They were exported back to El Salvador. MS-13, you got to nip it in the bud. Just read new pensionado visa holders can't get EPS health insurance. EPS health insurance is not allowed for new pension visas issued after. Please email that to me. I'll find out about it and look it up for next week. That doesn't really make sense because they require you to have it. And I just received this week new visa requirements for pension holders. So send me what you have, and I'll see if I can get to the bottom of it. There's a lot of stuff that floats around on Facebook that simply isn't true, and I that's what usually happens, particularly when it comes to anything visa. But send it off. Maybe there's something there, and I'll let you know if that's true. My wife just got back $100 on VAT from Colombia. Not many tourists know about the VAT refund. That's true. Value-added tax. And I was thinking about this just the other day where I said something about only the top 10 to 15% of the country are taxed. I meant payroll tax. everybody's taxed because you pay a value-added tax on well, not everything, but most everything you buy. And if you're a visitor here, if you're here on a tourist visa, whatever you pay during that time, if you keep the receipts, you can submit those receipts and receive that value-added tax back to yourself. I believe even on a visa, you may be able to do that. I know in Ecuador, until you became a permanent resident, you could get a refund on any value-added tax. So there's that. Well, I got through that flurry of comments and questions. Do we have anything else? Are we going to wrap it today, or what? Tell me what's going on. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to get myself a little bit of water. Yeah, I still got the scratchy throat, except I didn't have it until I started talking. It's funny because as soon as I started doing the intro for this, I'm croaking like a frog, and all week I've been fine. There are changes in the EPS requirement for U.S. retired immigrants. Have a meeting on Monday to go over it. Cool. Let me know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I know I just got an email reminding me not to be late on my payment. So apparently they're still collecting. Okay. Yeah, and she's saying for visas prior to October 2022, but after is an issue. I don't know. George, thank you. Thank you. Much appreciated. Apparently that link is up and working on Monday. Mike, shoot me a message. I mean, tell me where you having the meeting, what, give me some details. Suppose we're going to have to get to the bottom of this. Can someone qualify for visa in Colombia if you only receive a disability check over? Yes. As long as you have a steady income, yes. Snap just went down from $300 to $95 in USA. Many more people flying to South America. What's a Snap? Is that an airline? Never heard of it. And so therefore I have no context. I don't know what this is about. Yes, Monday with my lawyer. Okay, cool. What happened to Alejandra? I don't know. Did something happen? I mean, she's fine. Talked to her last week. Food stamps. Oh, so food stamps in the U.S. was cut from 300 to 95. Interesting. Very interesting. Under your communist regime, who's all for the people and social program. Oh, they needed that money for Ukraine. I get it. Okay. We'll let it go. Snap is good food stamps. Don't know. Never got them. Don't know what that is. Never even heard of that. I don't mention her much. I don't know, what to say. There's a lot of people I don't mention Natalie. There's a lot of people in my life here that I just don't really talk about them because there's nothing really to talk about. She's doing her Spanish classes. She's helping people that come here to go visit local places, things that's when they come and they pay me to spend time with them. I don't do that because I see that as kind of a waste of money on me because anybody can do that. Somebody local can do that. The time people pay to spend with me here is the things that local people don't know. It's like what's it like to come from North America, for example, and kind of work your way into the society of Colombia. And so that's what I talk about, plus show around the city and, where good places are to live and all the questions about, that kind of transitioning. But when it comes to you want to take a trip to Salento, you don't pay me for that. Get somebody local. And so, she does that, a few other people. Airplane tickets are still high via Copa or Sprint to Armenia. What's high? I think they were $300 or $400 not that long ago, but I'm sure with gas prices and inflation and everything, it's probably, what is it, $500-$600 now maybe? No pizza. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I think last I knew is inflation priced her out. People wouldn't pay. Every pizza she would break even or lose money because of inflation. Now, at some point, maybe it's something she can start again, or maybe she already has. I don't really know. I don't ask her about it. But she would have to raise the price. But if she raised the price, nobody was buying. So then she not only couldn't sell the pizzas, but then she would have things that she bought go bad. So it just unfortunately, when she was living in Bogota and she was doing it, it was pre-COVID or during, and then when COVID hit, and it worked like gangbusters, and she did really well. But when she came here, it was really after effects of COVID. And it was, COVID kind of was gone, but then inflation was kicking in. A lot of things changed, and it just was just struggling. Disappointed no more Viva Airlines. Yeah, I think somebody was saying Avianca is going bankrupt. They're not going bankrupt, but I understand that they are merging or buying another airlines. $300 to $400 to Florida. I live in North America. Florida is South America. Yeah, well, it is in many ways. As is California and Texas. In Queens, New York. I'm sure this figure is no good anymore, but it was good 5 or 6 years ago that in Queens, New York, there were just over 1 million people from Ecuador living in Queens, New York. Now, Ecuador only has a population of 25 million people? It's a very small country. It's not a huge population, but over 1 million of them were living in Queens, New York. Where people from Colombia will go to the U.S. By percentage, many more from Ecuador. I lived in a town that actually had a monument to all the men who had left that town of Giron in Ecuador to go to the United States. And the population was heavily skewed female because so many men had gone to the U.S. So, all right. What else are we talking about? You got me very curious about this health insurance thing. Something doesn't jive. They need people on the system, not out of the system. So I don't get it. Okay, I don't know. If you would, whatever you have on that kind of thing, send it to me so I can I can look them up and look within context. I really don't want to comment on something like this one way or the other because I'm just seeing it now and I don't really know what it's about. And a lot of times there's proposals that never come to fruition. A lot of times it's faulty information or faulty translation. Maybe it's true, but it needs context. So I really don't know what to say. They're saying I must pay a lot more money for insurance. If we have to pay more money for insurance, see, here's the weird thing. We're supposed to pay more. We're supposed to pay more for insurance. When I got signed up on EPS, I tried to pay more because you work it out, it's a percentage of a percentage, and it comes up with an amount based on what you have coming in. And so for me, it was going to work out to, I think it was like $120 or something like that. They wouldn't do it. They refused to do it. So I pay like $32 a month. I know that by law, I should be paying more. And I was panicked about it when I went to get my visa renewal this last time around. I was really worried about it. But in the visa, no, don't worry. That's the way it is. Don't worry about it. Because I thought, well, all of a sudden, I'll get this. You have all this back money, and you're not going to visa unless you pay all this back money. And I didn't know how that was going to go. I was very worried about it. But they just refused to let me. So I pay the $32 or whatever it is. It went up this year. I think it's 140,000 pesos a month now. 145, I think 140, whatever. It's a small amount. And so if they began enforcing that at some point, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't even complain about it because it's the law, and I know it's the law. I know that it exists, but even at what it is, it's a bargain. It's an unbelievable bargain. So it would be hard to complain about it. You mean claiming the minimum amount wasn't a good idea? Stop it. I didn't claim the minimum amount. No, I mean, you love to turn things around on me. No, I reported my income. And when they came back and they said, this is what you're going to pay, I said, that's not right. And we went back and forth on this for about 2 months. And I had Natalie involved, and they simply would not do it. They said that they couldn't do it. And finally, I just gave up on it. You could pay the correct. No, you can't, because I tried that. The amount that is in there is what you pay, and you can't pay more than what is in there. It's already programmed in there. There's a calculator on the page before you go in to pay, and you can put in the amount. And I've done that. I put in the amount. You check off the Social Security for retirement, and you just do the medical, and you put in your amount, and it gives you the correct calculated amount. But then when you go in to pay, it's what is set up, and you can't pay more than that. That transaction will not go through. Well, whatever. I'm not going to argue with you. I know, and I've talked about it online, and I've had people involved in it, and it didn't happen. If you were able to do it, well, good for you. My visa agent knows about it. Natalie knows about it. A multitude of people that work at EPS know about it, and I've tried it online. Yes, you can. The site has changed. I'm not wrong again. The site has not changed exactly the way it's been for a number of years. Well, you can, all caps you want. Good for you. God bless you. You got some kind of magic wand. I'm saying it how it is. So anyway, get yourself worked up there. You're gonna pop an aneurysm. No, I'm not gonna block him. He's not a bad guy. He's just stubborn, and he assumes that everybody's lying. Why would I lie about this? I very freely explained this in the past, and I'm very freely explaining what happens now, and I'm not making it up. I can be an asshole at times. Yes, I can, but I'm not right now. I'm telling you what I went through. I'm not creating a false narrative here. I'm telling you exactly what I've done. I've tried to change that amount on that site. You cannot change it. It's done through the office. When you go into pay, you have to pay the amount that's there. That's it. You can't change it. So, $10,000 bet. I don't have that to bet. No, I'm not going to play games with you. If you were able to do it, good for you. I tried for several months. I have a zillion witnesses. I'm documented here. If I was trying to do something sneaky, I sure wouldn't put it on a video that could come back to haunt me. No, I'm just telling you exactly what my experience with it. I had a similar experience to Lauren that kept reducing the amount I pay. It's done out of those offices. It used to be, and somebody told me that they're open again. During COVID, you couldn't go to an office, but I understand the offices are open again. So we'll see. We'll see what happens when I get this new information. And then this would be something I could bring up there. But I have attempted twice, when I started it and then when I had to get my new visa, to get that amount increased, and was never able to accomplish it. So if you were able to, God bless you, good for you. If I was trying to be sneaky about it, I never even would have said anything. I'm telling you, you changed the website. Well, maybe they did, but it was exactly the same when I paid 2 weeks ago. So maybe they've changed it since then, but it wasn't 2 weeks ago. Okay, enough of that. Now that we've got everybody in a sour mood. Anything else? Last call. Somebody's on fire. Yeah, he gets that way. All right, we're going to end it here, besides my porters calling me. Well, thank you. I'll see you next week. Please, you guys, send me that information. I'll do some research, and ciao.